Hi guys, and welcome back to Level Up with Lu with your girl Lu Oni. And this is the podcast where we help you live your best life, pursue your dreams, and love yourself.
Yeah.
Welcome back to a brand new episode, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. I have got an amazing guest on today. Guys, she's my online big sister. She's also my big sister in real life as well. And guys, I've got a actually crazy fact. I don't know if you need this, but we both have the same name. Did you know that?
I think I did. But I didn't know for years though.
Yeah. We both have the same name. Yeah. So Shay, I wouldn't say your government name because people don't know my government name either on this platform.
Yeah, let's not do that.
But Shay works full-time as a head of financial crime operations, and she also owns an event planning company, and she also is very passionate about creating content on financial well-being, career and lifestyle. And she's the creator of Slay with Shay. So would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a bit more about you.
Oh, I mean, after that intro, how do I even top that? No, thanks so much for having me. But just as Lee said, my name's Shay. I work full-time in financial crime prevention. So I head up a financial crime department. And we look at like KYC and fraud and AML. And then I also have a wedding planning and events coordination business on the side. It's like my little baby. And then separate to that, as you very nicely said, I'm very passionate about kind of career development, career progression, kind of just like general financial well-being as well. So I've shared a lot of like my kind of history about kind of my struggles with like finances back in the day and how I've kind of come out of that. By God's grace. I mean, I don't have enough money yet, so I don't want people thinking I'm rich. I'm not.
She rich.
I want more money. But I mean, yeah, I've learned a lot of lessons along the way, and I just thought I'd like kind of share that and kind of connect with people because I felt like money was a bit of a taboo topic that people don't like talking about in the Black community that much. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to break that stereotype by being quite open. But yeah, those are kind of like the main sort of things I share content around, and then just general like life stuff as well. Life has been lifing, and if you follow me, you would know that. So I'm always quite transparent about that too.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm actually so happy to have you on today. So how did we meet, Shay?
How did we meet?
Yeah.
So, do you know what? I'm trying to even remember what year it was. I can't remember. But I used to do a podcast with two of my old work friends. Shout out Joe and Mus. So I used to do a podcast called The Source. We don't record anymore, but all our episodes are still there if anyone wants to listen. And I remember when you were just about to start Level Up with Lu, I think you had reached out to us to say like, you're thinking of starting this podcast and you'd really love the opportunity to feature on ours just to, I guess, like get a bit of insight on what it's like and kind of like delve into some topics. And yeah, that's how we met. And I really admired the fact that you reached out because I think a lot of people don't do that. Yeah. A lot of people are like they've got all these like fun ideas, but they're not able to take that step. So I thought that was really bold. And I will never forget because you came from far. And I remember thinking, please God, I just want this girl to get home. I didn't sleep, until you got home and told me that you were back because I remember you came from really far. Yeah. And I just thought, wow, look at that dedication. Like we need more of that in this generation.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I used to love your podcast, honestly. I'm so heartbroken that you guys never came back.
I know. But life just lives. I think like...
You guys are all very busy.
Yeah, I think, we all got really busy. We all moved jobs because we were all initially working in the same place. And it made it a bit easier because after work, you just go straight, you go record. But if you're like working different schedules, it's hard to align. Joe moved abroad as well.
Wow.
So yeah, it just got difficult. And then the pandemic hit as well. So I think after that, it was just very difficult to kind of revive it. But you never know, we might come back.
Wow, okay, I'll keep an eye. So yeah, I actually brought Shay on today because I wanted to do an episode to talk about finances because I feel like we never really touched on that in this podcast. And I'm someone that believes, I always say this in the intro of every episode, it's important to make an income while making an impact.
Yeah.
And so not a lot is talked about in terms of financial well-being and independence, and even especially in our generation where we see things on social media and it can often seem like everybody has their life together and has all the money in the world. Guys, it's a lie. Adulthood is a scam. But yeah, I just wanted to do an episode to just talk a bit more about that and I guess learn from you because I feel like my platform is all about learning and sharing and growing together. So first of all, I wanted to actually ask you, what has your journey been like with personal development this year?
That's such a good question. I'll be honest, this year was probably a bit of a struggle for me personal development wise. I think I've definitely had more moments of feeling stagnant, but I think I've shared it on my platforms, but I lost my dad last year. So I think kind of the transition from the person I was before losing him to now has been quite a journey for me, I would say. I'd probably say it's only like in the last few months where I've started to really feel like myself again. I still got a way to go, but I feel like I'm kind of back. But I'd probably say maybe more prior to that, I think my journey was very much just thinking about what can I do to kind of impact others, but still grow within myself. Because I think like sometimes we start these platforms and we start sharing all this content. I'm not necessarily really putting it out there because I want to teach people things, or I don't want to feel like I'm a teacher because I'm still actually learning. I actually want to learn at the same time. So sometimes it's about opening up these discussions so that I can learn new things as well. Yes, I want to share things I've experienced, but by no means do I want to seem like I'm an expert. I'm not. I'm still figuring all of this out as well. But it's almost like while I'm figuring it out, follow me on my journey. Like some of the mistakes I've made, you don't have to make them. I've made them already. So it's kind of, for me, it was about that. Like, how can I continue to sort of learn and grow in spaces that are still that I'm really passionate about, like career, like financial well-being. So I think that's really been a lot of kind of what I've been thinking about in the past sort of year or two.
That's amazing. Which area of growth are you currently working on?
Really trying to remember to prioritize myself.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because, and the thing is, you hear this a lot and it sounds easy to do, right? Because you think, well, why wouldn't you prioritize yourself? But I think that some of us may not realize how much we're pouring from empty cups, how much we are putting so much time and effort and energy in everything else but ourselves. So one thing I've really been trying to adopt, and I was actually having this conversation today with a friend, and I was saying, look, before you do something for someone else, just make sure you've done something for yourself too. So if I'm showing up for someone, I also have to show up for me. I am of no use to anyone if I'm completely burnt out, if I'm completely drained. So even if it's something simple like watching a show that makes me laugh, or running myself a bath, or going to the gym, or taking myself to the spa. I love a good spa, by the way.
Me too.
So yeah, like anything that's just like about me, and knowing that I've kind of prioritized that before I've then done something else just gives me a bit more of a balance in my mental health as well, because I don't feel so drained. And you actually get the best version of me. So even like now, for example, knowing that I was coming on this podcast today, I knew that there was so much things I needed to do throughout the week. And I'm like, I don't want to get to today and then I'm stressing like, oh my gosh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And then I'm sitting here with you on the podcast, but my mind is racing about all these things that I need to do. So again, it's like, how do I show up as the best version of myself? And the best way to do that is ensuring that I'm prioritizing myself. So that's really the journey that I'm on at the moment.
I love that, because that's something I preach all the time. It's even crazy that you said it's important to fill your own cup before filling others. Because I was creating this content for work on health and well-being, and I put that exactly in like one of my thoughts for the day or whatever. And it's so important, especially even as women. Like I feel 100%. Like often as women, I don't know what it is about being a woman, but you often feel like you have to do for everybody else, make sure everyone's okay, and then you'll find time for yourself. I know it's like you have to be good first before you can give to everybody else.
Exactly.
Can you imagine being so burnt out, so fed up, so tired, and then trying to still help others? That doesn't work. But if you help yourself first, like they say, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, you can then help other people, and you'll actually be in a better position to do more for them as well.
Exactly that.
I don't know how you found this year, but I feel like this year's been a really, really like crazy, intense year for me. It's been ups and downs. And I'm even just like trying to find I'm trying to be a bit more sane. I'm trying to be a bit more present.
Oh, yes. 100%.
I don't know, is it like something's in the air, or?
I think it is. I feel like a lot of people that I speak to, a lot of like content I'm coming across, it's like everyone's feeling the same thing, particularly about this year. I don't know what it is. It almost feels like, because I guess this is the first year we've had post-pandemic, like where we've actually been allowed back out. We've actually been able to do the things. Like last year, there were still some restrictions here and there. This year, it's been kind of like back to reality, almost like COVID didn't happen. And I actually think a lot of us probably have underestimated the toll that the pandemic took on us mentally, and being kind of like hidden away for a while. We've not been able to face up to things because we were locked down. So now that we're out, we have to go back to reality, back to normal working patterns. Some people are back to the office. Some people are like back to doing things they couldn't really do. And maybe we've underestimated the impact that that's taken, because even last year, I feel like I struggled more with my dad's death this year than last year, whereas last year was when it actually happened. So it's kind of like, I mean, not to say it's easy, but I feel like having to actually go back to reality this year made things even harder. Whereas last year, you could kind of slow down a bit. There were still restrictions here and there. COVID was still going around, so you didn't really do too much. You didn't go out as much. So it was easier because I could have a bit more of that solitude. But then this year, I started a new job in January. So like, it was like, boom, new job. And it wasn't even like a small job. It's like, I've got a lot to do, a lot of responsibility. So I feel like this year has been difficult for everyone because we've been back out. Well, that's my theory, that we're like back out in full force almost. So we've got more capacity to guess, like take notice of what's happening around us, whereas before we didn't really. So you're just feeling things a lot more intensely. That's what I think.
I agree with that. So this podcast is supposed to be about financial well-being. And I know on your platform, Slay with Shay, you share with like your journey with your finances, and certain habits that you had previously. But what are some habits you've noticed, or some toxic habits you've noticed in people around you, or even yourself, that you can be like, oh, I wish I knew how to do better when you were younger or before?
I think there was loads. I feel like growing up Nigerian, you was never broke. Even if you didn't have money, you never say you don't have money. You never want people to think that you don't have money. And I feel like we underestimate. I mean, we can laugh about it because we've kind of matured from some of those attitudes, but we take for granted the toll that takes on us as well, growing up in those type of environments where you kind of keep everything hush hush, and even if you don't have money to go to that event, you still go there and you tie your gilly high. But it's like stuff like that, we've adopted that and we've not realized it. Because I didn't think that I was like that. I didn't think I was someone, I would never describe myself as like showy or anything like that. But I was definitely like not someone that was open about my financial struggles. So that gave people the impression that I was good. And I remember being like with a friend once and she said something like, oh, Shay has always got money. And I'm thinking, do you know the minus that's in my account right now? Like, where do you think? But I feel like it's because I'm always there. So things that I guess are financial commitments, I was always part of them. So in their mind, they're thinking, yeah, of course she's always got money. Like she's driving wherever event, she's there. Like holidays, she's there. So no one's thinking, oh, actually, yeah, this person could actually be struggling. But that's because I was very good at hiding it. So as much as I wasn't showy, I hid it well. And I think a lot of people are in the same position where they're just very good at hiding it because they're not outwardly flashy. You might assume that they're fine, but they're really struggling. So I feel like a toxic habit is perhaps not being open about how difficult it is financially, or how you might be finding it, because you're worried about maybe how you're going to be perceived, or maybe if people have put you on a bit of a pedestal, you don't want to like kind of taint that image. And I remember feeling like that when that friend made that passing statement, like, oh, Shay's always got money. And I was like, what? But then again, it's like, in my mind, it kind of put me on a bit of a pedestal of like, well, everyone thinks I've got money, so I can't now be acting like I don't have money.
Exactly.
So then that's more pressure, when actually that, you know, if I didn't give that impression, maybe people would have come forward to help me more. Maybe people would have given me ideas or resources or support, or, you know, shared some of their experiences, and maybe I would have learned a lot sooner than I did. But yeah, I think that's definitely a toxic trait that I've seen. People just not wanting to talk. People like to flex a lot as well. I think that's another thing. And I think I really, really feel sorry for this generation, because my generation, we didn't have social media like that. There was no Instagram. We just about had Facebook. We didn't have any of that. So imagine things being difficult then without things being so in your face. But this generation, the flex is on another level. Honestly, sometimes I look at social media and I'm like, where are people getting this money from? Please show me where.
These are like 18-year-olds.
I did like
people that have a career.
Exactly. You don't even have a job yet. Where are you getting this money? Or even the other day I was telling a friend, I went to the spa. I took myself for like a little overnight spa stay. And I was in the spa area. I saw like two couples. Kid you not, they could not have been older than like 18, 19. In fact, one of them, I had kind of overheard a conversation that led me to believe they were roughly that age. And I'm like, how do you guys afford this spa? Like, that's not the kind of dates I was going on when I was that age. I would be lucky if I was being taken orange. Back in the day, we had Orange Wednesdays when you had free cinema. I'd be lucky if I even got that.
Yeah.
Where you get, I mean, it's good in a way that I guess like people are, you know, younger people have side hustles now. They're doing things, they're making their money. But then at the same time, I worry about the pressure it puts on others who aren't in that position, because I feel like, where are you getting this money? Like all this designer stuff, where? I never even bought myself anything designer. I don't even know if I ever actually have. If I'm being honest, I don't think I have. I think my friends bought me a designer bag for my 25th. That was like my friend's like a joint gift.
Yeah.
My boyfriend bought me designer shoes for my 30th. The most designer things I probably bought might be like perfume. But any like actual designer items, I don't even know if I've ever bought. I need to even regulate that. Maybe I should treat myself to something less.
Of course.
I think I should. But yeah, but that's what I mean. I just feel like those things aren't as easy to come by as what social media makes it seem like it is.
Exactly.
And that's the scary part. And it might have people second guessing themselves financially. But honestly, that's not real. It's not.
I don't know. I find social media to be toxic for finances and
100%.
your financial well-being.
Because you just think you're not doing well. And also like touching on financial well-being, I think people need to understand like that means different things to different people. If you are able to pay your bills on time, you are, you know, able to do the things you enjoy, you live a comfortable life. Okay, maybe you're not the richest person, but to you that's financial well-being because the state of your finances are healthy. There's nothing wrong with that. Like you don't have to have like thousands and thousands of pounds in your bank account to make yourself feel more financially whole. Exactly. That's still a good place to be, because there are people who are struggling to pay their bills. They're struggling with those things. And if you are blessed to be able to do that, I wouldn't like downgrade that as not being in a financially good place.
Try telling that to this generation.
I know.
They don't agree.
All of a sudden, everybody's on 100K. It's like...
Oh my God. You know what's crazy? I even had it down because guys, I make this before I recorded a podcast. I actually put £100,000 like in capital letters or numbers or whatever. And it's crazy. Like, that's like, this is what we're dealing with nowadays. And there's even, have you seen that couple that every year comes around, they like buy themselves like designer, like gifts. It's on Twitter. No. Look them up. I think it's like this mixed race, like not mixed race, but like they're black and white, I think. No, and yeah, literally people are just like, oh God, when will be my time? Like people are like they're praising that, like, and I'm thinking this is what you guys are looking up to, thinking that this is what love is. And it's like, don't get me wrong, like obviously everyone wants their man to treat them or wants their woman to be able to, you know, get them the nice shoes or whatever. But that's not love. Like just because he's spending, you don't know what he's doing to her back home. You don't know.
And then it kind of creates this false narrative that you might now start side-eyeing your relationship. Let's say like your boyfriend, like he buys you flowers once a month. He might not be buying you that expensive bag, but that's his thoughtful gesture. You'll now start looking down on him thinking he's not doing enough because this person's buying their woman designer bags. But yeah, I hate it, to be honest. I hate all of that. I tend to block it out though. Yeah. I'm very selective about kind of like what I see on my feed for that reason.
Yeah. Okay. I actually wanted to share some stats on financial well-being and what people are currently going through in England. So over 1.5 million people are currently experiencing debt and mental health problems, and up to 24 million adults don't feel confident with managing their money, which is crazy because we're not that big.
I know. And
apparently 11.5 million people have less than £100 saved.
I have seen that stat. I actually have seen that.
And that's that. Thing is, like, that's crazy.
I know. It is, because when we're thinking about it, you almost can't imagine it. But I honestly can see how easy it is to be in that position, like easily. That was definitely me, like back then.
Yeah.
I can see how easy it is. But I think that I feel like it's a bigger problem that needs to be tackled. I think like income is one. I feel like people are probably just not earning enough for what they're doing. But I think that it took me a long time to recognize that my issue was not just an income problem, but also a money management and a money mindset problem. Because I think that what I realized was that I was like, well, I just need to earn more money. I'm not earning enough. And I remember this started, so I used to work in Sainsbury's. I was probably making like £300-400 a month. I was still in uni those times. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, of course I don't have money, because what am I doing with £300-400 a month? Of course. So in my mind, it's like, I just got to get another job, get more money. So I went and I got a job at a bank, and I was at that time probably earning like, because I was only part-time. So I think it was like, I want to say like maybe £700 a month. I can't remember the figure, but but I was still in the same position financially. But it's like, I'm technically earning like almost double what I was earning before. So why am I still just as broke when everything shouldn't have changed?
Yeah.
But that's what I mean when it comes to that kind of lifestyle creep, where you've convinced yourself that income is the problem. So you look for more ways of getting more money in, but financially you find yourself in the same position because your mindset hasn't changed. And that was kind of what I identified. The way I was approaching money was still the same. I was still not managing my money properly. I was still not paying attention to what I was buying or spending my money on. I was not managing my bills. I was not checking my bank balance. I was still doing the same things I was doing when I was earning that £300-400. So it's no wonder why at the end of the month I found myself in the same position, because I hadn't shifted my mindset.
Exactly.
And I think that's probably a lot of what people probably might realize is the issue. It's not just the earnings. The earnings is a big thing, don't get me wrong. That needs to be tackled kind of across the board. But I think that the mindset, because if you can manage £100 well, then you'll manage £500 well. Okay. But I think if in your head you're telling yourself that £100 is not enough, I need the £500, you're not going to ever shift yourself from that kind of place you're at financially. And that's something that I realized.
It's interesting that you actually say that, because I feel like, yes, people aren't earning enough, but people are spending way too much. I feel like, so it's worse in America, guys. But I feel like we're such a consumerist society, and it's even worse as Black people. I feel like Black people consume, like we are one of the top.
I know.
My God.
I know.
We can't consume. I was like, where is everyone getting this money to spend?
I don't know, but they need to tell me, because I really have no idea. But you're right. I think that also does feed into it. We just want more things. And that's why I say that I really am worried for this generation and the social media era, because we didn't even have all of that.
Yeah.
And it was still a struggle back then. So now I can only imagine. And even things like upkeep, like beauty and stuff. Oh my God.
Gosh.
I swear, I see some of these young girls now with their lace fronts and I'm like, I know that stuff is not cheap.
No,
I mean, I don't wear wigs, but I'm like, I know it's not cheap.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, again, if I was back then having to now afford wigs, what would I even have been doing? How are they affording this? And again, that can apply another pressure as well to look a certain way, which means you've got to spend more. It scares me. It does worry me, because even like lashes, all these things are so expensive. Makeup. And I'm like, how do you afford this? How?
I don't know. But you say like, lashes, lace fronts, all these things are expensive. Even natural things, like things that you should be able to, like getting waxes.
Oh, yeah.
Your own natural hair. If you want to go to the salon, all these things cost money. I don't know. It's just expensive to be a Black woman, I personally think.
100%.
And I was like, is there a way I can reduce my beauty maintenance? I'm like, no. I didn't come to this life to suffer.
No.
If I want to get my nails done, I'll get my nails done.
Exactly. And I am really an advocate for that as well. Like, yes, of course, manage your money well, but please don't feel like you need to conform to this life of no luxury whatsoever. And when I say like luxury means different things to different people. Like luxury to someone might be getting their nails done, getting their hair done, whereas luxury to someone else might be a designer item. But I feel that whilst you're on that journey of like rebuilding your finances, yes, there's going to be sacrifices you have to make, but I am really not an advocate for cutting everything completely to the point where you're living a miserable life, because you need to your mental health is still important. And if there's things that help you feel more fulfilled, you should be prioritizing that in some capacity. Like for me, traveling was my bag. Like everyone loves, like some people might have their thing for like designer items. That was never me. I was always the person that went on holiday. That's where my money went. And that's what I prioritized. Yeah, same. Like literally for me, holidays were my thing and still are. And that's what I will be willing to spend money on, because for me, it impacts me. It impacts my mental health. So if someone else said, okay, well, you can't go on holiday for X amount, I would rather take longer to save, knowing that I can go on X amount of holidays a year than sacrifice that. Well, it depends, within reason, depending on what my financial goal was at that time. But yeah, most of the time I'll say, okay, all right, I have to save an extra 6 months to be able to do X or whatever. Or I could like not go on holiday and then I could do it in a couple of months. No, I'm going on that holiday. It's okay.
It's weird, right? I don't believe like going on holidays and travel. I don't think it counts.
But to others, that's a luxury.
It's a memory. No, but like to me, it's like, it's part, okay, maybe because I see it as, to me, it's like oxygen.
Yeah.
Like it's a necessity. It's like, how do I live this life in one place, not going anywhere? I can't do that.
No, but to others, it's like a huge, even like to my mum, she'll say, oh, you're always going on holiday, always traveling, always doing
my dad's
this.
like
You
that.
should just stay at home. But that's because in her mind, A holiday for her is probably going back home to Nigeria, maybe at a push, maybe America, or maybe Dubai. Like that's like the most. But for her, she just doesn't understand. Like she's just like, but don't you want to save more money? Don't you want to do this? And I try to explain to her like how important it is for me to change my environment from time to time. And I actually took for granted how much that impacts me mentally, because I went to Vegas recently and I hadn't been on holiday for a while. And I even almost started believing I didn't need to go anywhere. So I was happy that I went, because it made me remember, no, you need to be doing this more frequently, just for your own sanity.
Yeah. Change of scenery does wonders, honestly.
100%.
Wow. Gosh, you've covered so much already. I feel like the time's just going so quickly. But there's certain things I wanted to kind of touch on for this episode. One of them was definitely to do with financial independence. And why do you think it's important?
I guess it depends what aspect you mean. But I think when I think of financial independence, I think more like financial freedom. So for me, I feel that we can never deny the freedom that money brings. Like I know like people say like, you know, money isn't everything, money's the root of all evil, etc. But if I can think of most of my problems in life right now, I don't think there's many that money couldn't solve. There's probably some that money couldn't solve, but you know, even if money can't solve it, money can buy me that fancy holiday, or I'll go and cry on that yacht. Like, so I feel like money can make it a little bit easier, or make that, you know, it can soften the blow. But I think for me, it's about, I feel that if I can get to a place where I'm not spending as much time and I have more of my time to myself, to me, that's financial independence and freedom to me. And that's kind of what I want. I don't want to have to feel that I have to do so much in order to be able to just survive. I kind of want to feel like I don't have to do as much, but financially I'm okay. I'm actually in a place where I don't have to work as hard as I am now. For me, I'm really about kind of getting to that place of like, okay, I just want freedom. I just want to have that time. Just even think about, I mean, I don't have kids yet, but like when I get to a place when I have kids, I want to be able to have more time with them. Exactly. I don't want to have to feel like, oh my gosh, well, I've got to go to work and then I've got to do this business and I've got to do that. And then it eats into the time I get to spend with them. And I know that a lot of parents struggle with that guilt. So whatever you can do to give yourself more of that freedom, to me, that's kind of what ties into the financial independence side of things. And then also, I also look at it like, in the nicest way possible, I feel like I am quite fortunate that I don't feel that I have to depend on anybody financially. And I think financial independence can help with that as well, so that you're not feeling dependent on anyone. And I'm not condemning anyone that has to. I just feel that for me, it's helped me feel a little bit more secure that, okay, God forbid, if anything happens, I'm okay. It's not like, you know, like for example, if I'm in a relationship and I'm depending on that person financially and the relationship breaks down, and I'm not thinking, oh, what's going to happen? It's like, okay, I still have my money. I still have my savings. I still have my property. I still have these things. So I'm walking away with what I came into it with. So for me, I think that's also quite important, knowing that I can make decisions for myself financially that doesn't mean that someone else kind of has that hold over me, no matter who it is, whether it's a partner, whether it's family, etc. I think it's important to be able to do your own thing with your money and not feel like someone else has that hold. And it might not even be a person. It could even be like the bank, for example. So if you're like in debt or whatever, that's like something that's got like a hold over you. So trying to break away from that, I think, is also important.
Yeah, I agree completely with what you said. I've always viewed debt as bondage. I don't know how people go into debt for stupid things.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you guys, because this platform is about being honest. The things that I've gotten into debt for, yikes, holidays and looking after other people. Those are like my two main things, which I said to you guys, I feel like traveling's a necessity. So I don't even count that one. And when you're helping other people, it is what it is. Like, you have to support, especially as a Nigerian person. It's even that idea of like sending money back home, and, you know. So it's like ingrained in you, like you didn't come to this life just for yourself. Help other people. But yeah, financial freedom, financial independence, especially as a woman, is so, so important.
I'm a huge advocate for
and that's something my dad has always pushed for, because we're all girls. My dad always said from the get-go, you need to have your own money. Never depend on another man for any money. Like, he's drummed it in us. And it's so important.
100%.
I've seen like people I know around me who, you know, initially didn't start in a place of being independent financially, and how it's affected them in such a negative way.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, I will never, ever be in a situation where I have to wait for somebody else to give me something, especially now as an adult. So yeah, I'm only just so grateful that, you know, not everyone can do that, you know,
Exactly.
But even being grateful that I can even earn my own money.
Exactly.
Is important. It's really important.
And that's something that we probably should identify as a bit of a privilege. We don't see it as that, but it is, because there are a lot of people that are just not in that position. Like even if they wanted to be, they just are not in that position where they can have that financial independence. They're kind of stuck in a bit of a system or maybe some kind of like cultural beliefs that make them feel like they can't do that.
Yeah.
So I am quite grateful that I am in the place where I can have that kind of life for myself.
Exactly. I also wanted to talk about retirement because so this platform is supposed to be for younger people, young professionals. And I don't really think a lot of people that are young talk about retirement or even understand the importance of retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think it's important for young people to start saving? And what are some steps they like towards start planning for your retirement?
So I think the first step is taking advantage of like company pension schemes. So I'm not going to lie, I was definitely that person that was like, I don't want to give them an extra £50 or whatever. I want that money. So I would opt out. I'll be honest, I would opt out of it all the time because I felt like I'm too young to be thinking about when I'm 65. And this is obviously like in my early 20s. And I was like, please, I'll think about it when the time comes. I want the money. So I would always opt out.
Yeah.
And I think back and I'm like, oh, I wish maybe somebody had given me a bit more of an understanding of kind of like pensions and long-term investments and, you know, kind of the advantages and the benefits of just, even if it's only your little £50 you're putting in, what that would then amount to in the future, etc. So now I feel like people are quite blessed. There's like a lot of financial advisors that can give you that knowledge. So I would say like the first step is to speak to somebody that's like in that kind of space. Like there's like a lot of people that offer like kind of free financial advice. Obviously I'm not a financial advisor, by the way.
I was like,
out there.
Disclaimer.
Forgot to put that out there at the beginning. I'm not a qualified financial advisor. I only share my experiences. But I do think it's really important for people to think about that because we are getting older. That's a fact of life. And it's a fact of life that we don't like to identify with, but we are getting older. And, you know, when you're older, you've probably got less mobility, etc. You don't want to then be thinking, oh my gosh, I need to get a job. I need to do this. I need to do that. Even now, like I think about my mum. Mum's 60 now and she's still working and she's getting close to that retirement age. And I've been saying to my brothers, like, we need to retire her earlier because, you know, it's not nice seeing her get up at whatever time in the morning, going to work, coming back, and then she'll do the same thing again the next day. And she's working for hours and it's very manual. And you're thinking to yourself, this is the age where she should be enjoying her life. She should be sitting back, going on holidays or just relaxing. So I feel like I think about that and I look at my mum and I'm like, okay, I definitely wouldn't want to be like, I don't want to be in that position. Like I want to not have to work as hard when I'm older. So like my priority right now is like saying to my brothers, like, we need to retire her. So yeah, we don't want to make her have to wait until she's like 65 or whenever the retirement age is. We need to try and do that sooner so that she gets a better quality of life. And I think that's another reason why young people need to think about this. It's all good and well now because we're able, we're strong, we're young. We're not thinking that far ahead. But when you get to a place where you've got probably more health problems, you're not as able as you are now, you can't move around as much. You don't want to be thinking about, oh, you still need to work. You want to be able to sit back and just reap the rewards of all your hard work that you've done over the years. So I think people should think about it 100%.
Definitely. People think I'm weird. Like whenever I meet a young person, I talk about money, I'll always bring up pensions, retirement, investing, because I feel like the earlier you start, the better.
Yeah, because it's only going to continue to get like, you know, depending on kind of what investments you get into, obviously, and it can go up or down. But if you think about the potential that you could have at the end of X amount of years, I think it's because we always live like we're living forever and that we've got so much time.
Yeah.
And yeah, the concept of time is quite interesting. But because we think we've got so much time, that's why we put it off, because we think, oh, I'll think about that next week or next month or next year, or oh, I'm still young, I'm only 20, so why am I thinking about when I'm 65? Or we make the assumption that we'll have enough money by then, because that was me. I used to be like, oh, please, I'm sure I'll have enough money by then, or I'm sure by the time I'm 65 I'll have enough money. But it's about the kind of like groundwork I'm doing now. If I'm not doing anything to get to a place to know that, okay, by 60, I'm going to have X amount saved or invested. I'm going to have X amount of property that I can fall back on, or whatever it is I'm doing. What makes me know that I'm going to have money then? If I'm going the way I was going before, I would still have no money at 60.
Exactly.
So I think these attitudes start from young, actually, and you build upon that.
Yeah, you're very right. we talked a lot about social media and how it impacts finances. But how do you think people can use social media to strengthen their financial well-being?
I think that there is a really big financial well-being community out there. A lot of people sharing like really good quality content on like how you can improve your finances. There's so much more resource out there now, I think. Even banks are even doing more to try to support in terms of like what they're putting out there. In some ways, it's almost like there's so much information at your disposal. It's just what you choose to do with it. So I think like connecting with some of these people who are on these platforms sharing that kind of information is a start. Follow them, watch what they're kind of doing. And also I think like being open, I think is a start as well. Like sometimes we want to consume, but actually be that person that speaks out about your experiences, because you don't know, maybe you speaking out might encourage someone else to come forward. Exactly. And that's kind of what I found. Like I thought, before I came into the community, I didn't see much. But then when I eventually stepped into it, I realized there was so much other people doing similar things to me, which was good because it was like, oh, I didn't think there was a space for this, but there is. And then other people would like, whether they message me privately, it'd be like, oh my gosh, I never knew that about you. Or, oh, I'm so glad you spoke about that. And then you realize how much other people are also facing the same thing.
Exactly.
So you realize you're not actually alone. So maybe that step might be you being bold enough to kind of talk about your position and seeing kind of like what conversations that opens up, or just following other people who are releasing content around that.
That's so true. And that's what I love about your platform. I actually want to talk a bit about your platform because I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing.
Really not that much in this past year, but I'm coming back.
It's still great. Guys, go check Slay with Shay. Tell us a bit more about what it's been like, navigating the journey of creating content and as well having a full-time job.
I'm not going to lie. It's not easy. I think that when I started it, I don't feel like I started it with like a clear strategy in mind. I just wanted to share. So it was just like, I wanted to talk about this stuff for a long time and never felt like I could. Yeah. So I just kind of wanted to start from, okay, I just want to share this stuff. I just want to talk about this stuff and just see where I got to. And then I think the first week, I think I had like 500 followers, I think, after a few days. And then I was like, whoa, okay, there's actually getting a bit overwhelmed. And then I felt the pressure of, okay, well, I need to be consistent in order to kind of keep up with this audience. But I would say that like, I found I've enjoyed it. Like, and I was saying to my friend the other day that I remember when I first started it and how it made me feel and how happy I was and excited I was to kind of share this stuff. And then somewhere along the way, I lost sight of that. And then I think that caused me to not be as consistent with sharing my content. And then obviously last year my dad died and then that just went downhill. But I think generally, I want to go back to, I'm reminding myself how I felt. And I'm reminding myself as well, like the engagement that I got. Because I think also like if people are just putting this out there for anyone that might be considering putting themselves out there or starting a platform, try not to think about the numbers, really think about the engagement. And even if it's like 2 or 3 people that message you and say, I really like this, or they comment and like, oh my God, this is really good. Or they message you and say, I really learned a lot from your video. You have done what you were supposed to do. Like, so to me, that's kind of what I've always like focused on. And then it made me think, wow, if I really put my effort into this and time, I could definitely reach more people. But if you're too focused on the numbers and you don't feel like you're growing as fast as you should, you will lose sight of that. But yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. Genuinely, I have. I've met some like really good people kind of online. I have like friends online that I've not met in person. And I've had, one thing that I've really liked is I've had a lot of young people reach out to me via watching a YouTube video of like my financial crime career journey. And they've not seen any videos like that, or they've not seen content like that. So they've reached out to me to ask for like help or like coaching and stuff. And a few of them, I've actually helped them get jobs in that space. Some of them work with me now. Like, so it's like, I feel like being able to do that and kind of like reach out, like impact people in that way. For me, that's like, yeah, that's like kind of job done. Like for me, that's like my highlight, I would say.
So lovely. Oh my gosh, it's all coming full circle. Finally, what is one thing you want listeners to take from this episode?
I think just understanding that like life is not linear. Like you don't have to do everything in this like straight line and step by step. Like you can pivot, you can go left, right, up, down, doesn't matter. And sometimes it might feel like you don't really know what you're doing or where you're headed, but don't let that deter you. I feel like as long as it makes sense to you, go in whatever journey you're supposed to. And I think that going back to what you were saying about people consuming, one thing I realize is that as much as it's great that there's a lot of content out there, it's also overwhelming.
Yeah.
So sometimes people don't know what the right mode is, because you've got this page telling you to do it like this, and then you've got that page telling you to do it like that.
Yeah.
And then you just struggle with all of it, whether it's relationships or finances or career, because there's just almost too much content about what you should be doing or not doing. So that's why it's important to kind of trust yourself and trust your individual voice within yourself about what it is that you want to do or what it is that you want to achieve. And then kind of try and align yourself to that rather than relying on so many different things. Yes, see what's out there and engage with content, but just try not to get too overwhelmed, because sometimes I even feel like that. And I'm like, oh, I thought I was doing this life thing okay, but that page just told me that I'm not. So maybe I need to go back to the drawing board. But then it's like, no, I know that this journey makes sense for me because of where I'm at in my life right now.
Yeah.
So if you are on a journey of rebuilding your finances, just try to follow something that works for you. Don't feel that you need to do it in a particular way. Just do what works for you. Do what makes sense. If you're saving for something and you know that for you to get it, so let's say you're saving for a house and it's going to take you 5 years, don't feel disheartened that it's going to take you 5 years. If it's going to take you 5 years and you've got an end goal at the end of it, that 5 years is going to pass anyway. So keep going.
Yeah.
Don't let that make you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind, or, this person's just bought the house. Another person's posted their keys on Instagram. Now I'm like so far behind. No, just stay in your lane. That's what I want.
Stay in your lane. See? Slay in your lane.
Yeah, honestly, just stay in your lane is what I would say.
I love it. Oh my gosh, this was amazing, guys. I wish we had more time. I'm looking, it's gone so quickly. A bit late. Oh man, this has been the best 40 minutes or so of my whole week. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
If the audience want to learn a bit more about you and follow you, where can they do that?
Just follow me on Instagram. It's at SlaywithShayUK. My YouTube channel as well. Same handle, at SlaywithShayUK. My email address is, you know what? I don't remember. No, it's swithshay no, do you know why? Because I've got two. Okay. But so it's swithshay@gmail.com. Connect with me on Instagram, DM me, message me. I love engaging with people. I actually feel like it's nice when people take the courage to reach out to me. Because I actually just like talking to people, as you guys might have guessed.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shay, for coming on this episode.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
And thank you guys for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Let me know what you think. You can email me at levelupwithlu@gmail.com, or you can also send me a DM on Instagram. And I will catch you guys on the next episode. Until then, take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.